So Meek and I played a game of ping pong backstage.
Basically, I gave Ellen that smoke backstage.
Yeah. He beat me, and I said, I'll get you. I'll come back. I'll get you. I will.
You gotta go to jail to get as good as me in
I
ping
know.
pong.
I know. Spend some time in jail, and then because you have that spin, you have that.
Yeah, a little wrist
tricky.
action.
It's too tricky. I just learned that you watched my show in prison.
Yeah, it's not a lot of good things to watch on TV.
Yeah?
They gave us like the basic channels, so I found myself watching Ellen. Some days it was CNN, and then it was Ellen.
All right, so let's talk about this because it's really kind of infuriating and frustrating. But
Yeah.
let's talk about the first time that you went to prison. What happened?
The first time I went to prison, I actually got locked up in the South Philly area. It's like really, I call them ruthless environments where, like, you know, a lot of violence happen, a lot of drugs happen, and, you know, this is where you have to hang at. If you grow up in this area and you don't have money, you grow up in poverty, these are the areas that we hang at. So you end up at the wrong places in the wrong time. And actually, I didn't really have any guidance. I was hanging around a bunch of the wrong people, and I got caught up. And when I went to court, you know, I don't know if anybody's seen my mugshot. When I went to court, when I went to see the bail judge, she was like, you're here for shooting a police officer, well, pointing a firearm at a police officer, selling drugs. I'm like, whoa, 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 pointing a gun? I wouldn't be here right now if I pointed a gun at a police officer. Anybody believe that? I think I got locked up in like a bus where, you know, 5 or 6 officers come at one time. So it wasn't like me and the officer one-on-one. 5 cops, you got 2, 3 cops saying I pointed a gun at them without a single shot being fired, nobody being hurt but me.
Yeah.
And, you know, actually I had to fall for that case, and I got felonies on my record for that case, and they put me on probation from, I was 18 years old, 19 years old when I got on probation. I'm 31 years old, still on probation.
Still in, okay, so you're on probation, and then what happens the next time? What was wrong?
A year ago, I got locked up for wheeling a motorcycle and was sentenced to 2 to 4 years.
For doing a wheelie on a motorcycle?
Yeah, actually, I didn't even get caught on a bike. I posted on my Instagram, so the next day, I went back to that area to a charity basketball game. 20 cops came up and arrested me, and I went to prison.
Well, you shouldn't have posted that.
If you follow me on Instagram, my whole Instagram is about wheeling bikes. I've wheeled bikes through America for the last 7 years.
No, I know, but now look what that did. All right, so you're in for stupid reasons. You shouldn't have been in there, and you had no idea that so many people were fighting to get you out. You had no idea.
No, I did have an idea after like the 4th, 5th day. The first week I was being like a public figure. They put me like alone in a cell. You locked down 23 hours a day. When I got out, I actually started watching the news on TV, and I was seeing like CNN, like big TV stations talk about my situation. So I'm like, oh, this must be something good going on, because I got people standing behind me. And usually in these situations, people go to jail for these things all the time, like minor things, not even committing crime, which people don't understand. A lot of people would see somebody, he violated probation. It could have been loitering at Starbucks. Yeah. It could have been anything.
Yeah.
Police contact is a violation. So a lot of people would say, oh, he belongs in jail, but I didn't commit a crime, and I've been doing good since I've been...
Yeah, no, you did not belong in jail at all. You didn't. So how do you, so the day you find out you're getting out, what, did you know you were getting out, or they just came to you and said you're getting out?
I was in my cell, I just cooked. I had rice and mackerel. They sell like a mackerel fish, and I was eating, and I was watching the news, actually 3 or 4 o'clock. What time did the show come on? East Coast, 4 o'clock? Mm-hmm. I'm watching the news, and Meek Mill is up for bail. I dropped my food, jumped up in the air, and, you know, I was leaving 10 minutes later.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you get out, and you saw all the people outside waiting for you?
Yeah, I came outside. I was kind of like dizzy.
I mean...
Oh, that's it right there?
Yeah. That's amazing to see that many people supporting you and celebrating you getting out. How long were you in?
5.5 months. Yeah, 5.5 months, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're out now, and so you're the face of criminal justice reform. And did you ever imagine you would get to this point?
Just having, like, growing up in the environment I grew up in, it wasn't never really, like, a lot of support. You got support from, like, your mother. If you had a father, you had that type of support, but we didn't really get a lot of support. So I wanted to, like, pay the people back that actually came out and, like, supported me and really just make what's right.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these things don't make sense, and everybody know they don't make sense, but nobody focusing on changing
Right.
the
Well, you're
system.
going to help a lot of people because a lot of people are going to listen to that. And it's, yeah, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. There are a lot of people in jail that don't need to be, or in prison that don't need to be in prison. They just sit there and wait and wait and wait.
Yeah.
And, you know, so.
It's almost like you being voiceless, like even being on a show like this too. I appreciate having me on this show. Like a lot of people that was locked up with, I know they're probably watching the show right now. Shout out to them.
And it needs to be changed. It really does. So I'm glad you're doing it. And shout out to your friends who are watching in prison right now.
Yeah,
Hey, everybody.
shout out to the whole Chester, the whole,
all right.
everybody that held me down.
You have a new album coming out. You can go to Spotify this Friday to stream Meek's new album. It's called Championships. And thanks so much for being here.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me.
All
Whenever
right.
you want your rematch, let's get it.
We'll be back.